Welcome to the Bruce Williams channel. This is the Omega Seamaster Professional green dial on the green fitted rubber strap that I'd like to present today. And I'll talk about the strap. This really sets it apart. Some people, some collectors, they really prefer the rubber strap to the bracelet variation. And personally, I've owned two different bracelet versions of this generation, and then I've also owned the rubber strap on the all ceramic variation. So I do have some experience with both the bracelet and the rubber strap. I think the bracelet really looks the part, but it is quite hefty, quite heavy, and this can feel old on occasion. So again, I know a lot of people prefer the rubber, but I would say if you like the Seamaster, if you're planning to purchase a Seamaster, I think there will be days where you really want to enjoy this on the rubber strap. It's lighter, it's smaller, it tapers, it looks a little bit more casual on wrist, but then there will be days where you really want the bracelet. You want this, the heavier, larger look. The fact that it does have a great adjustable clasp in the bracelet. The fact that the all stainless look helps the dial color really stand out a little bit more as opposed to when it matches the color of the rubber. So I would say if you like the Seamaster and if you want to buy a Seamaster Professional, I think both straps are worth buying. So pick the one you think you would enjoy more and then add the other one at a later date. If you're shopping Omega, I'd like to shout out Exquisite Timepieces. They made this video possible. I've been borrowing awesome watches from them for years now. I've bought multiple watches from this family-owned brick-and-mortar authorized dealer in Florida. So if you're shopping for Omega, my recommendation is in the description. Now let's talk about this model. Let's talk about the price. I think a lot of watch collectors have complained about Omega's multiple price increases over the past several years, and they say that this model has just become too expensive for what it offers, and it definitely needs an update. So let's talk about this. This was released 5 years ago. That was 2018, and at the time this debuted, it was met with massive success. Watch enthusiasts thought it was the greatest thing. It was available, unlike Rolex Submariner models, which are still very hard to come by. They were very happy about the Seamaster, and the retail price at the time was $4,850 on a bracelet, which itself was a $450 premium over the previous flat dial Seamaster Professional on a bracelet. Now let's talk about this one. Fast forward to 2023. This is now $5,900 on the bracelet or $5,600 on this fitted rubber strap, which is a $1,050 price increase since the introduction of this revamped model. And I think it's very easy just to write off Omega as being greedy and trying to milk every penny from this popular watch. Perhaps their britches got too big as they were selling watches left and right during the pandemic. And now that the watch market is really going down at the moment, this retail price looks a little bit ridiculous. I think it's easy to fall into that line of thinking, and I probably have agreed with that sentiment in the past year or so a few times. But let's talk about something that I think is important, and that is inflation. So I went to a couple different inflation calculators as I was thinking about this video and considering the Seamaster, and $4,850 back in 2018, depending on the month that you put it into the calculator, equates to $5,931 today. And isn't that interesting? After 5 years, Omega has not raised the price. That's just been the result of inflation, which is really frustrating. What do you think about this? Do you think that this watch is due for an update? And if if Omega did revamp the Seamaster Professional, would that justify a higher retail price? Would this become a $6,000 plus priced watch, maybe mid $6,000 if it were updated, and would that be justified? And also, what changes would you like to see there? What I'm going to do, instead of complaining about price increases every time Omega does one, I'm going to look at the inflation calculator. I'm going to look at the history of the model, and then maybe I'll complain about Omega, but more likely I'll complain about inflation and how ridiculous it's been getting here in the United States and in other areas of the world. Now, I'll share my own wish list items for an updated or refreshed Seamaster Professional. And a lot of these may not be to your liking because they will contradict what I think will be the common answers. Now, I like this larger size. I really wouldn't change that. I like the way this wears on my wrist. But if there was a way to slightly trim some height, not a ton of height, but a little bit of height, I would be all for that. And I do enjoy the skeleton handset. So Omega, please keep these skeleton hands. I know not everybody likes the handset, but I like the flare, I like the bevel, I like the bitone lume application. And most of all, I think I like the fact that it's very much the 1993 James Bond Seamaster, which was my own first luxury watch. I think this was the first time that the Seamaster since the 1960s really found its design identity. So I like the handset. I would not change the handset. What I would like to see changed is a full loomed bezel insert, just like the orange bezeled Planet Ocean, which is one of my favorite Seamaster. Or actually, technically it's a Planet Ocean, but it is part of the Seamaster family. I am going to do another video on this watch very soon, but I would love a bezel like this one. And I would also love to see the return of the electric blue dial as a special variation of the Seamaster Professional. That one is one of my favorite discontinued versions of the Seamaster. And then another suggestion, if you are going to do that special electric blue, perhaps put the sword hands for those people that love the sword hands and the polygonal markers on that specific variation. I think that could be very fun. But the big thing for me would be to add an 8900 series movement within. I greatly prefer the 89 to the 8800 series, purely based on the twin barrels, that architecture of the movement, but more specifically the jumping time zone hour complication. I find that so enjoyable, so practical, so helpful. So that's what I would like to see there. The last thing would come down to the bracelet. I think a lot of people will want a tapering bracelet, but I don't necessarily want that. Perhaps a slightly thinner bracelet with a little bit of weight trimmed out just for comfort. That would work well if the case was thinned out a little bit, because I don't recall anyone complaining about the prior two generation non-tapering Seamaster bracelets. I mentioned I own the James Bond cords. I own the flat dial ceramic Seamaster. I liked the fit on those non-tapering bracelets. Now, I just realized I started out presenting the Seaweed Master, but I got sidetracked into a ramble about pricing, about inflation, about a possible design update, and then my own wish list. So I would like to know what you think about those items. Please place that in the comment section. But for those of you that are more interested in the details of this watch, allow me to showcase a few important things. So here's the bezel action. There is a touch amount of backplay, but there's a nice mechanical feel. I know the grip could be a little bit better, but that's just the nature of the scalloped design, and I wouldn't change the design. I don't think it's a deal breaker there. And then this is the lume shot. This is something that Omega does so very well with their dive watches. The lume is bright. It's a bitone application. There is just a great level of longevity here on a full charge. So I think Omega really did fantastic when it comes to the lume. And then here is the watch on my 7.25 inch wrist. This is it out in natural light. I'll show it to you on the rubber strap. I'll show it to you on the bracelet. I really like, again, both. If you're considering a Seamaster, I think both strap options are worthy of consideration. But let's talk about this fitted rubber. This one is one of the nicer rubber straps that you can buy from any watch brand. There is not just a flat, basic texture here. There's a couple different textures to the rubber. And then I like this linear design. This very much reminds me of the bracelet. So there feels like there is cohesion across the two different design options. And then note the lyre style buckle and how that perfectly matches the twisted lugs or the lyre style lugs. I think that is nice attention to detail. I like the wave on the back. That ties in very well to the modern history of the Seamaster. And then there's a keeper system here that allows this keeper not to float around, which I find so frustrating. There's a small rubber section that comes down and keeps it in place on one side of the strap, which I think is just nice engineering, nice design work there. This watch comes with an 8800 movement, and I know that I knocked it, but I do prefer the 8900. But that's not to say that this 8800 is not a great movement, because it is a great movement. I'll place the specifications here on the screen. This has very sharp finish work. This does have a master chronometer certification, and that takes place while the movement is cased, unlike just a standard COSC certification, which is movement only. So this is very well dialed in. It has a nice power reserve. It's it's water resistant, and it's very anti-magnetic. I think that's fantastic, and I do enjoy the arabesque finishing here. This watch comes on a wood style lacquered presentation box, which is one of the more satisfying presentation boxes that you can buy sub $10,000. And I'll remind you, this on the rubber is $5,600 full retail, but even approaching $6,000 in retail price, I think this is a heck of a good daily wear type of watch. I've owned 3 variations, both in steel and in full ceramic. My father daily is a black dial. He got that back in 2018 when the watch was introduced. I do think that this is a really good watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Omega does with it next. And when will that be? Will that be next year? Will that be 3 years from now? What are they going to do with the Seamaster Professional? I'm looking forward to it. Shout out Exquisite Timepieces for making this video happen, for lending this watch in. I'll recommend them, and a link will be below. And then lastly, if you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, please like it. And if you want to see more detail-focused reviews or more topical rambles, which this video kind of turned into, please subscribe. I would appreciate that. Thanks.